So I'm going to hold up his book. It's called Memory in the Cells by Luis Diaz. And I'd like to bring him onto the stage right now. Hello. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. So we have a live audience and we have a virtual audience.
Wow.
Yes, so it's quite exciting. And we have some questions for you. Now, before you came, I had introduced everybody to your book and read a little bit from it. And we also did one of the exercises that you have in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then from doing that exercise and doing the little bit of reading, some questions came out of it. So I'm wondering, would you like to jump in like that, or did you have something in particular that you want to present?
No, let's jump in.
Yeah. Okay.
What was the exercise that you did?
The exercise that we just did was looking at the different ways in which we resist.
Okay.
Resist pain. And it's from his book on page 37. And it's called, "We have probably lived much of our life resisting what happened to us in one or several of the following ways." And then the different ways are the denial, judgment, avoidance, medication, complaint, analysis, prayer, visualization, blame, and predicting.
Mm-hmm.
So we read this part of your book, and then the exercise was to write down which of these forms of resistance and denial have you resorted to in your life, and which of them are you still using, and then what other form of resistance to pain that isn't on the list. Write that down and pay attention to your body and what you feel while doing this. And what's interesting is the theme for our month right now is how do we unravel suffering? So we've already been doing all of these exercises, looking at resistance and how it's suppressed in the system. And so they've done these exercises since yesterday. And now we read a little bit from your book. And one of the questions, I actually just wondered though, wouldn't it be interesting to have the whole audience do that right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but first, before we do that, because it's a great exercise, in here you talk about the light body and the pain body. So when I think about the light body, I think about how we talk about presence. But we want to hear what are you saying when you say the light body? What does that mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the light body or the joy body is another expression for it.
Yes.
Is our energy field in expansion. And what we call the pain body is the energy field in contraction. It's the same energy field. And expansion and contraction are pretty much what this universe is made of. I mean, everything is, in the East they call it yin yang, yeah? The expansion and contraction of energy. And when we feel good, it's because we feel expanded. And it feels good. All the good feelings are coming from the expansion. And when we don't feel good, we feel bad, we feel contracted. And anger, fear, sadness is all the expression of our energy field in contraction. And we actually feel it with physical sensations. So when we have a movement towards contraction, our viscera, our organs move and contract. That's why we feel those feelings, those butterflies, those aches and heaviness and a rock in my stomach, those feelings in our neck and head. And because we are mostly water, it's so easily for the tissue and the organs to move and accommodate the movement of the energy. So what we call negative feelings actually are information, are not negative. It's not that they're a bad thing. They have been demonized through history up to this day, but actually without negative feelings, we don't have information about what's going on with us. So behind negative feelings, there are mostly needs, values, very important things for us that are not being met. So the pain body, what is called the pain body, is actually an energy field of contraction. Mm-hmm. That doesn't feel good. It feels uncomfortable. And what we want to feel is what we call the light body or the joy body. That is the expression of nature, pretty much, where things flow and there is no resistance, and things move from life to death, just flowing naturally. And we humans, we are a special experiment in nature, because we are probably the only ones that we have this chip called rational mind that is highly developed. At least, well, that's what we think. And and is what actually stores a lot of beliefs. We can program that mind with a lot of beliefs. In the same way, when you buy a new computer and it's empty, you start installing programs. And if those programs are useful for your purpose, running that computer, you're gonna have a great experience with that computer. And if those programs are toxic, you're gonna have a lot of problems dealing with it. And that's what happens when we are born as babies, and the first years of life is when all the programming gets in. And it depends what kind of environment, what kind of context we are surrounded, our family, our friends, school. If there is a lot of toxic beliefs, that's usually the case for most of us. There are very few human beings I met that they receive a healthy programming. Mm-hmm. Even if the family is a great family, then they had to go to school, and then they watch TV, and then they read newspapers, and it's a bombardment of toxic programming.
Mm-hmm. In your book, you even speak as early as the womb, that in gestation, that the baby that isn't even born yet is already picking up signals and feelings and information from the mother.
Absolutely.
And one of the people in the group has a question, about that. Well, because, continue in this process as we unravel and we bring more light. And one of the things you said is really what it is that people suppress feelings because they just didn't get the opportunity to express it at the time. So then it just stays contracted in the system. So when a person does come into, say, a program like this or one of your programs and learns how to bring light into that and let it be seen and felt and met, then can that change what has happened for the infant? So say the adult, the mother, goes and does their transformation. They have a transformational experience and bring more light. Does that pass on to the child?
If she's pregnant?
No, while the child is already growing too. Mm-hmm. Like say she feels like she has an idea that she felt that she wasn't in the best place carrying the baby. Mm-hmm. But then through her transformation, can the people in her environment also transform?
Yes, because we have the links, the connections of love, mother-child is actually what makes the web, the family system web. And if one member of the family makes a shift, everybody has to change around. Mm-hmm. Even though they are not aware, or the mother doesn't have, in this case, the intention to change anything. Our relationships is like these mechanisms, these old clocks that they have all this, how you call these mechanisms inside the clock. Uh-huh. those wheels,
Gears.
okay. So our family systems are a mechanism, made out of gears. And if you change anything in your gear, if your gear becomes like this gear needs to adapt, otherwise there is separation. So if you don't separate from your family system, if there is no break, splitness, and you stay connected, any change that you make is gonna change the other person. The other person had to adapt. Yeah.
Yeah, so whether negative or positive, either way, so you're in a field.
Yeah.
And so then in that field, so there's like a resonance. And then can that even go so far as to influence the ancestry, like those that have gone before? Can it go that far into the field?
Well, that's so difficult to verify, but it changes your relationship with your ancestry. And it changes the relationship of your, let's say this is your son and this is you made a change, he has to change. And if your relationship with your ancestry has changed, it changes for him too. It has to. Because the most powerful link that we have in the family system is love. And that is another word in words in the universe. The word love can be interchanged with the word connection. So everything is interconnected in the universe. And when we say, everything is love and everything we need is love, is actually what we are saying. What we need is connection. We know if there is no connection, there is nothing happens really, and stagnation happens.
Yeah. So then in that sense, it seems like then, that lots of us, when some kind of damage happens in a family system, or say there's somebody in the family that has an addiction, and you get one other person, especially a parent, would get concerned about that and want to change that person. So from what you're saying and from what I do in my own work is what is more important is to change yourself, be the transformation.
Absolutely.
Because that love, that transformation is, as you're already saying, is automatically going to shift the wheel,
You don't know in what way it will,
or
but
the timing.
it's actually the only thing we have any control over is our own change.
Our own transformation.
Just leave your family members alone and do your work, and offer them your support, offer them your ideas, your advice, ask permission for that, because everybody, even if they are to our eyes or our interpretation, we think they are lost in drugs or alcohol or whatever. That's also a being that has the same values that we do, each of us do. And there is a soul there, and there is a purpose there, and there is a reason why they're going through what they're going through. So you offer your love, your support, but you also respect their path, because who knows? You never know really why they're going through what they're going through.
Yeah, and you can't take it away from them.
No.
Yeah.
But you work on your own pain body. You work on your own anxiety, your own fears, your own anger, frustration, impotence. That is your stuff. That is your contraction. That is your business.
Yeah, because even that, like trying to work on somebody else is one of the big distractions of, just moving away from your own discomfort. It's like, how can I get involved in somebody else's so that I don't look at my own?
Yeah, it's a way to say I'm unhappy because my son is doing what he's doing. Yeah, that's the reason why I'm unhappy. No, I'm unhappy because there's unhappiness here, and that is the way I get into myself and I get to know myself better. Doesn't matter the reason outside. So you can always go inside, and you will always find something to work on and transform in yourself, transforming the pain body into the joy body or the light body.
Yeah.
I mean, people say, how can I get rid of the pain body? You don't get rid of the pain body. The pain body is your energy field in contraction. What you want is to unlock that contraction so that it opens up. I mean, it's the pendulum. You just see it, in your muscles. If you contract your muscle very, 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 very tight for a while, it's going to be a moment where there is no more space for contraction, and that is going to open up. And then you feel, oh, so relaxed. So that's the dance from contraction to expansion. So that's why when you feel negativity, feel it. Just dive into it so that you contract it to the max. And when the contraction to the max happens, then opens up into expansion. Why we don't do the contraction? Why don't we dive into the contraction? Is because we have beliefs that those feelings are wrong. Remember, I said we demonize negativity. Yeah. So we were told, programmed, that having been angry, being afraid, feeling grief, or any sort of emotional pain is wrong. Therefore, we never do the diving into the feeling. We stay in the middle. So our system wants to have a contraction. Let's say I feel so impotent and frustrated because my son is doing drugs and he's not changing. All right, that is your business, the feeling. That is your pain body. So feel it to the max. When you feel it to the max, new information is going to arrive. The information of expansion. In the information of expansion is where you have wisdom coming, understanding, consciousness, awareness. You see the connections. But if you stay in the middle, you never go into the feeling, into the negative feeling, you're going to get stuck here. That's why people tell me, it's not true that life is contraction and expansion. I'm always in contraction. Yes, because we resist contraction. And whatever you resist persists. So you're going to stay in negativity most of your life. And moments of positive feelings are going to be scarce because you don't allow your system to do the dance, get stuck in contraction because you were told it's wrong. So we judge that, we get stuck there. But if you no longer judge it, we dive into it and we start dancing. And life is going to be 50 and 50.
Yeah, that's really good. And then there's a question. So say somebody who has real trauma, I know we both work with trauma some, but that the trauma feels locked in the system because it happened pre-verbal. Pre-verbal can't be understood. There aren't even words for it. So what is your system, if you have one, for unlocking that?
I mean, I see the whole thing like a dance of energy, yeah? And it doesn't matter when it happened. It could happen in the womb. Maybe my mother had the trauma, yeah? But I was inside of her. Of course, I felt everything she felt. My first training was inside of her for 9 months, yeah? It's not 9 hours, 9 months inside a human being. Imagine this. Everything she feels, you feel it. But it could be a generational trauma. It's something that is in your DNA that you got, something that happened to your ancestors. And we know our ancestors, some of them went through really rough situations, a lot of abuse, exploitation, slavery, you name it. So we may have those things in us. But it could be something that happened when we were, 1 year old or 2 years old. It doesn't matter, it's energy. So I treat it exactly the same. And it always starts with a feeling. And you bring an uncomfortable feeling, and we come from the assumption that the feeling has information. How am I gonna get the information from the feeling if it's not feeling it? I had to feel it. It's like the postman comes with a letter. I had to get the letter from the postman. No, closing the door and running the other way. Yeah. So the feeling brings information, and when I get into the feeling is when unravels, the file opens up, and everything comes up. The memories come up. You may have memories, traumatic memories in you that you don't even understand what they are, where they're coming from. Images, sounds, people that you don't, and we all have this in us because we have a lot of DNA information. It doesn't matter, it's just energy in contraction. And in that way, you start opening up the files and clearing up and feel lighter, more open, and more resources come. I mean, animals do this. And they do it because they're not afraid of feeling.
Yeah.
And babies, we do this when we're babies because we are not programmed to resist uncomfortable feelings. You notice how babies exaggerate negative feelings? Like they are playing, something happens, they start crying like crazy. You don't know what's going on. They cry for 2-3 minutes and then stop and keep playing. Yeah? So we are naturally designed to transform contractions into expansion. In other words, we are designed to transform the pain body into the joy body all the time.
Yeah, that's really good. So then say that you have somebody who's pretty say oriented or located. They locate themselves in their mind a lot, the rational mind. And I think even in your book you talk about a prophetic mind, the what if mind. If somebody wanted you to speak.
Somebody, all of us.
Oh, yeah. No, somebody wanted you to speak more about it. I'm not saying that. It's just a few people with it. But, say there's that going on where those forms of resistance are really strong. And, I know there's a lot of different portals I use, but I'm just curious, what are your portals for, coming out of that, even just to be able to see what your resistance is? Is it that a person, first of all, just has to want to stop suffering, perhaps, they have to want to see.
So the question is?
The question is, what is the portal for somebody, everybody, that is really locked more into that rational, mental, resisting mind and can't come into sensations in the body? Like feelings just feel like a foreign land, like no relationship to feeling.
Yeah. Well, that's the situation of most of humanity. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're all there. I was that person, 20 years ago, and I found myself cornered by a very, very, very high, intense pain when my wife passed away. And I found myself with 3 small kids, and she was dead. And my corner was, this is a lot of pain. I don't know what to do with this. And I know if I don't feel it, I'm gonna get sick, because I had already my professional practice. I already seen people with homeopathy and Chinese medicine. I knew how much the suppression of negative feelings would make you sick. And I had to raise 3 kids. I choose to stay here, otherwise I would go with her. But I choose to be here for them. So I was cornered. Or you feel this, or you get sick, and you have 3 kids to raise. And that's how I got into this training. Yeah. So I started slowly, gradually feeling, and this was very intense and lasted several months. And that was the training that taught me what made you write the book and then create a system about it. So I'm not saying that everybody has to go through that, yeah, but I was the rational guy that was very disconnected from my feelings, and I didn't know. I just didn't know. I was not aware of how much stuff I had in myself. It started coming up when I allowed my feelings. So the answer to your question is education. That's why we are doing what we're doing, is educating people. Okay, so read the book. All right, okay. Oh, wow, this is interesting. I wonder what happens if I try. And you start feeling slowly, you start going into your feelings. I mean, from very simple feelings, just get in touch with your body. That's a portal. Yeah. If you want a portal, that's your get in touch with your body. Your body has all the information, and start getting in touch with your body with simple situations like now. Okay, what are the feelings? What is going on now? What are the sensations that I have? Doesn't have to be an extreme situation for you to get in touch with your body, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, really good. And also, this section in your book is so good where you point out, the different ways that we live our lives in resistance, just to have the awareness of that. We talked about it just for a moment in the beginning, just as I was introducing you. But maybe it would be interesting for the people that are watching to do the exercise, for these forms of resistance and denial that you resort to, whether it be the action of the inner dialogue, and I'm imagining that's like all that mental self-talk, and the denial that everything is all right, there's no problem. And in non-duality circles, that would be as if to say everything's an illusion anyways, right? Let's just do a spiritual bypass kind of a thing. And another is the judgment, that we spoke about, this shouldn't happen, or wanting something to be different than it is. Taking medications, well, I guess where we live too, that would include lots of marijuana. Tranquilizers. And then the complainer that says, why me? Kind of going into that victim mode. And then analysis, what does it all mean? And the visualization or positive thinking, which is a big, new age kind of thing. Let's just cover it up with a positive thought. That doesn't get to it.
Yeah.
Visualize it isn't happening. And then blaming somebody else, rather than just going inside and taking responsibility. And then that predicting, which I think is like that prophetic thing you're speaking about, or projecting. If this is happening now, then it's going to happen in the future. Yeah, so for those of you who are listening, if you want to just take a minute and write down when you resort to that in your own life, if you're still using these, and they did it here, would anybody like to share about that, or ask any final questions about that to Louise? Because we're just about coming to an end. It might be a good way to end, huh? With giving something.
Yes.
And I think the microphone will reach, so if anyone wants to share what you wrote down, you can do that. And if you have a final question. My loud and boisterous group just got very quiet.
You got us thinking.
Oh, because you're thinking. Well, I didn't mean for you to think. Feel your body. Breathe into the body. Feel your sensations. Okay, good. We have a volunteer.
I think that probably honestly, I've used every single one of those at some point or another in my life. But the one that really I seem to be looking at a lot is how my busyness is an avoidance to really feeling what's going on. And it's very disguised as helping and doing for others. But when I really look at it, it's a distraction. And that was what came up for me when we looked through this.
Mm-hmm. So keeping busy when you're feeling uncomfortable sensations.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, and was it you?
Oh, yeah.
We have to have it be a short one. Okay.
I was just about inner dialogue going on.
A little louder, please.
It's just about inner dialogue going on, and I'm wondering, well, how do you get to the feeling if you're having an inner dialogue about it? So,
And there is
there's
always a connection.
Yeah.
Actually, beliefs create feelings, and the inner dialogue is always connected with what we call the personal lie. You know, that deep core belief about myself. So you have you realize, you notice that you have an inner dialogue. I mean, you have it all the time. Notice it or not noticing it, it's happening all the time. But if you have an inner dialogue that is creating discomfort for you, problems, and it's not allowing you to feel more expanded, then you go into the inner dialogue and you express it now loudly inside of yourself. And whatever it is going to start creating feelings for you. And then you use the feelings as your ticket to your ride inside your system and get information about yourself. So if the inner dialogue is my son-in-law is going to ruin this relationship, you know, he has to change. If he doesn't change, this or this could happen. What do I feel in my body? And I'm start feeling things in my body, some anxiety, some physical sensations. So I start going into that. And when I start going into that, I allow them with curiosity, with openness, instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this. Yeah. And then it starts opening up. The files start opening up. And you will start realizing, oh, this is connected when my parents divorced. Yeah. And all the pain we had to go through when my parents divorced, for example. Yeah. And then you start tapping into your own pain and your own wounds. And when we get wounded being so young is when we create a personal lie. Let's say that my parents divorced and I was young and I couldn't do anything about it. Impotence. I'm weak. Yeah. I'm useless. I'm small. So I developed that belief about myself. And usually when we create a personal lie of that sort, we react in the opposite way. So if I believe as a child that I'm weak and impotent, I'm going to show myself like a strong person. I can do everything. Yeah. And here I am, I'm going to save the world. And from that place, I relate to people. And we may develop a personality of someone that is doing everything for everybody. I can do it, you cannot do it. I'm strong, you are weak, kind of thing. And that has a lot of implications, because usually when you are the one that does everything and knows everything, people come to you with stuff. So you're always in overload. You're always up to here with stuff. So then you start getting resentful in your relationships. And yeah. So the inner dialogue always brings you to your personal life and your wounds, where things started, that actually create the character that you are. Not necessarily you are that, but you are playing on stage that character. And when you start deassembling all these pieces, is when you start meeting who you really are. And that's a beautiful process.
Yes. Wow, that was great. And that's the process that we're all in. And thank you so much for contributing to it, Luis.
Thank you.
He's in my neighborhood. You know, it's nice to have him here in the same town. So you'll probably, now that you know who he is, those of you who live here, will run into him in Briar Patch.
Yes.
And just to show it again, his book is Memory in the Cells, and it's how to heal our behavioral patterns and release the pain in the body. And it was an Amazon bestseller. in the United States and Canada, and I think in somewhere else too, didn't it?
In England.
And in England. It's an excellent book. And you can still go to your website, or wait, people that didn't register, they still can register and they can still get the download.
Yeah, of course.
For this.
Mhm.
You know, he's happy to share it. And we're really glad you came to visit with us today.
Same here.
I'm going to give you a big
Pleasure.
hug. Thank you.
Enjoy your day.
For those of you on the broadcast, we're going to disconnect this broadcast. And you go ahead now with the link for Ellen Emmett. And after Ellen Emmett will be Isaac Shapiro. And in fact, the camera's there. Hello. Isaac Shapiro and Mika. So looking forward to that. And then feel free to send your suggestions for future guest speakers. And be sure that you get the download of my book, Edge of Grace.